Right. Thank you. Good evening, all those who joined us online as well. We've been having a program daily this week at MMA, so I can see the audience effect on that. So anyway, thanks for all those of you who come today. There are a lot of students also joined us today here as well as online. And this is a program, a popular program of every month where we encourage students to come and join, because this is all about reading books. This is about discussing book an author's point of view. So this is a good program. We are also trying to promote a reading habit once again through this program, which is being done normally on the third Friday of every month. So before I come to the program today, since we have some time and we also have some people still having tea outside, let me just cover 2 or 3 programs that are likely to come up this month. One is we have an excellent program tomorrow here, and that is a full day program on data, where the recent bill has been passed on data protection. There has been a lot of talk that has been going around as to how personal data is to be secured, and to what extent is compromise, or if you may call so, is permissible from the Aadhaar perspective, from so many other perspectives. A lot of dialogue has been happening last 3-4 years, and I think this data protection bill has now been passed. So how good, how bad, what are the effects, what are the ill effects, what we should be careful about? It's going to be a day-long discussion tomorrow. So I'll invite those of you who have not yet registered for the program, though of course even for members there has been a small little registration fee for this program. But if you are somebody who is very, very keen, please do give me a call and we'll see what we can do about it. So this is for tomorrow about the data protection bill. And just to give you an idea who will be there. So we have the Mr. R. Ravichandran. He is the Chief Commissioner of Income Tax. He will deliver the keynote address tomorrow, along with Mr. Vijay Shankar, who is also called Navi. He is a data governance and data protection consultant. So we have about 4 sessions. The first session will talk about the key legal issues emerging out of the DPA 2021, and then we have, just a moment, and then we have the sorry, I think it seems to have missed it somewhere. Okay, so I don't think I have it with me here. Anyway, there are 4 sessions, and I can assure you that each of these 4 sessions are discussing various aspects of this bill, and I invite you all to come and join that. Then we have the next big program that is coming up. I'll just talk about 2 programs this month. We have the so-called book launch of Dr. Krish Shankar, Global Head HR of Infosys. This is going to happen on the 29th in the same very hall from 5 p.m. to 8 p.m. The book is called Catalyze, Power Up Your People Ecosystem. That's the name of the book. And once again, we have a full panel that day who will be discussing the book, apart from the author himself. And we all know Krish Shankar. He heads HR for the entire, globally for Infosys. So you can see what kind of insights will come out of him. So please do, that's of course a complimentary program for all our members like it is today. So don't fail to register for the program and turn up for the program that day. Right, so there are so many other programs, training programs, a lot of things are happening. But now that since we are on time for starting the evening program today, let me invite onto the dais the so-called distinguished speakers of this event today, Mr. Rajesh Srinivasan. Though the number is small, I think the clapping can be as big as loud as possible. Yeah, Rajesh, Mr. Anant Narayan, and Mr. Rohan. May I request all 3 of you to take a place in the dais. Please. So as you're all aware, as I was saying, this is a series that we have been doing once a month, mostly on 3rd Friday of every month, unless something bigger comes up on that particular day, then we will have on some other day. Otherwise, 3rd Friday has been earmarked for this series. In case you didn't know, please mark your calendar now itself so that you don't miss out on such interesting sessions. Today we are going to discuss a very, very interesting book, Onward How Starbucks Fought for its life without losing its soul. I am sure the book has been very, very interesting, and today's discussion will be more interesting than that. Leading the discussion, we have Mr. Rajesh Srinivasan, who is a marketing, branding and business growth strategist. Thank you, Mr. Rajesh, for coming over once again. Mr. Rajesh has been driving this session since the time we started this program series, and he will be taking a small break for a few months. So until we see him next time here on MMA stage. Thank you today for making it. He is a founder of Mindful Marketing, a boutique consulting firm. He is an alumnus of the Indian Institute of Management, Lucknow, and he was also topper of the batch. He has authored 2 books, Growth Nuggets and Marketing Success Formula. He has also co-authored 2 books, namely Shifting Gears, Stay Hungry, Stay Bullish. So he is featured in very many magazines and business dailies, and he is also global executive member of Dallas Leaders Club. Thank you, Rajesh, once again for making this possible this evening. We have Mr. Anant Narayan, who joined us this evening. He is actually a mining engineer and has done his postgraduate diploma in management from XLRA Jamshedpur. Sold 1,000 apartments in 3 days. Need to really know how did he do that, but yeah. So that seemed to be something phenomenal. Okay, as a 360-degree launch campaign that he did for Akshaya today, and he played a lead role in generating business of over 750 crores for his clients so far. He has won over 60 regional, national and international awards in advertising, and a 3-time winner of the Copyright Year of the Year title award. So here is the ad man for us this evening. Thank you, Mr. Ananta, for joining us. And third we have, and we have Mr. Rohan S. He is the Regional Director, South India, PVR Limited, Finance and Strategy Specialist, Culture Transformer. He comes with a hospitality management background. He has worked with leading hotel chains such as Taj, Accor and all, and completed his Leadership Excellence and Business Management program at Cornell University. Held senior positions in general management, is delivered as a leader for about 23 years at top level. He's also fixed profit responsibility for multi-service hotel resorts nationwide. And now he's heading PVR, the entire South chain of so many screens. And we're all here to listen to him, both from his personal journey, professional journey, through the eyes of the author that we are going to discuss today. So now I request Rajesh to lead the conversation and take it further. We will possibly lead this till about 6:45, 6:50, Rajesh, and thereafter throw it open to the audience questions if there are any. Sure, yeah. For about 45-50 minutes you take. Then we will throw it open to the audience if there are any questions, and then we can. Thank you.
Sure, yeah. Good evening, everyone. First of all, I would like to thank Mr. Vijay Kumar and Mr. Captain Venkatraman for organizing this Read and Grow initiative. Sangeeta Shankaran, Shumesh, Babu Krishnamurthy are the key players in this whole initiative. Sangeeta, in fact, ideated this one, and Babu joined with us. It was quite an interesting journey for me with MMA for the last 5-6 months, thoroughly enjoying this. And next, our speakers, Ananta Narayanan is known to me for the last 9-10 years. He's an inspiration for me in marketing, advertising and branding. Rohan, he has immense experience, hospitality experience. When I spoke with him for a shorter while, I could sense his passion towards service and experience. Thank you so much for joining with us today evening, Ananta and Rohan.
Thank you so much.
So let's jump into this book. So before we enter into the core idea of the book, let me set some context. In Starbucks, the brand was started in the year 1971. But our gentleman, Howard Schultz, is the CEO and chairman of the company, right? Everyone thinks that he's the one who started the company, but it was started by a different set of people. Founders were totally different. He joined Starbucks in 1981 as a head of marketing, as an external employee. So, because he was quite fascinated about the coffee business and joined Starbucks. After 1 year, the founders sent him to Italy for a exhibition. So he went there to the city of Milan and found around 150 coffee express retail showrooms there. Not just they were selling coffees, it's like a small community they have, around 1,500 shops like that. He immediately envisioned Starbucks or a similar set of retail coffee chain in US, because there were no such retail coffee chain which offers not just coffee with some communal experience. So he came back and tried to convince his founders, but their founders were willy-nilly. So he quit that company, went and started another coffee firm called I forgot the name.
Il Giornale.
Yeah.
It's named after the Milan newspaper called Il Giornale. Giornale means journal, the journal. So he called it the journal.
Yeah. So he started that firm. It was doing really well. In quick span of time, he launched almost 7, 8, 9, 10 stores. So these founders, the owners of Starbucks, they thought, okay, let's merge Starbucks with this gentleman because he has some vision. So immediately with a group of investors, he immediately took over Starbucks, but he loved the brand name Starbucks. So he retained it and discarded that another complicated brand name. So thereafter, he didn't turn back. The growth story of Starbucks. The key aspect of this story is he brought experience into a commoditized market. Coffee was a commodity, right? We all know. See, that is the key differentiator of Starbucks. Not only that, he brought some premium product quality in Starbucks. That's another key differentiator. He added more layers of differentiation. The Starbucks retail stores in 2000, in the year 2000, around 10,000 stores in the whole world. He expanded to that extent. So he stepped back eventually as a CEO and gave his job to an external CEO called, there are two people who joined the company from 2000 to 2007. But what really happened is, like any other brand, which when it was small, it used to be very authentic. The founders used to be very passionate about their customers. After a certain point, when it grows, eventually complexity arises, right? Same thing happened to Starbucks as well. In 2007, they had around massive 10 to 12,000 stores worldwide. But the brand faced significant neglect in terms of relevance. Let me explain you shortly, then we will move to Ananta and Rohan. They will explain this even more further. They had grown significantly, but the customer experience, he envisioned some experience when he started Starbucks way back in 1985, right? So that Milan experience was missing in Starbucks. He could sense that. He was a chairman. As an outsider, he could sense something is wrong. That is one aspect, internal. External, 2008, we know the financial crisis. That. Third one, competition from McDonald's and Dunkin' Donuts. They were eating away the business of Starbucks. So these are the things, these are the struggles of, Starbucks. So eventually this gentleman thought, okay, this is the time I need to go back and take over the position of CEO. So this book talks about how he turned around the brand from the year 2007 to, he was there as CEO for 3 years, I think.
4 years. Yeah.
4 years. Those 4 years were transformational for Starbucks. What he did exactly to bring back that relevance to customer experience, all those things he has narrated very clearly in this book. Very good book for not just for brand managers and marketers, for top leaders, anyone across functions is a very good book. It talks about his emotions. We can learn the underlying emotions behind a founder. Now, let's hear from Ananta. What is his view? Maybe he can dive deep into this transformation story, one or two areas where he reinvented the whole brand.
First of all, thank you for setting up this opportunity with MMA. So, Can you guys hear me? I'd first of all like to thank MMA for setting up this forum. It's a wonderful idea, this Read and Grow, because people have stopped reading. That is the truth. We are happy reading 2-line Twitter posts, a 4-line Facebook post. That's all we read these days. And there's so much of interesting stories hidden within books, and it needs to be brought to life. We've all become lazy, so such forums hopefully will stoke your interest in reading, and especially reading from, actually this Rajesh beautifully gave us a context of what this is. I'd like to add a few things. Just see yourself. You've seen Coffee Day. Coffee Day, grew from one store to 1,000 odd stores in India, 1,600 odd stores. You see that the owner committed suicide. To take it from 0 to 1,600 stores itself, he struggled. And, he had financial problems, and that drove him to do what he shouldn't be doing. Imagine this company, he took it from 3 stores. Today it has got 34,000 stores in the world. And this thought never crossed his mind. Shall I run away from this company? Shall I sell this company? In fact, when he was actually took over as the chairman and the CEO, day-to-day CEO for the next 4 years, that's the context of this book. There were many people telling him that, has Starbucks brought back this gentleman? Maybe the idea is to sell off Starbucks. A lot of speculations begin. It's like when Mahendra Dhoni steps away and Jadeja comes in, you think, is he a stopgap guy? And when 4 matches they lose, is Jadeja the right captain? People are asking about CSK, no? And yesterday when MS Dhoni hit the last over, they'll say, bring back Dhoni. That's the kind of attitude we people have. In US, the people who are judging a CEO is a lot more than in India. In India, we don't get objective financial press who ask questions. There they have the Wall Street Journal. They have social media. There's a site called Starbucks Gossips, he talks about in this book, which constantly captures whatever is happening in Starbucks. So the moment he was brought in, people are saying, does he want to play politics? Does he want to undermine the current CEO? Is he the right choice? Is he going to, sell off Starbucks? Is he going to take wrong decisions? And the moment he got in, for 2 years, the company did losses. So the same story is like Jadeja. People started asking, is he the right choice for us? And the man is the guy who took it from 3 stores to 10,000 stores. He's the same guy who took it from 10,000 to 37,000 stores. So when I read this book, I'm an entrepreneur myself. And I have 2-3 companies that I have founded. I won't say it's successful, it's reasonably okay. Now, my entire perspective was this. What didn't Coffee Day do right? What did Starbucks do right? Can I learn from this? We always look for local contexts. I'm a local man, and I like to see whether if I can understand anything from that. And that was some statistics that I read about Starbucks is really mind-boggling. The number of people who visit Starbucks every week is 60 million. 60 million is 6 crores. If you listen to the Rahman song, Aarukodi Tamizharkallil Oruvan Adiyan. So that's the population of Tamil Nadu. Starbucks every week across the world. That's more than Tirupati. It takes a god. 30 lakh people only come to, 3 million people only come to Tirupati every year. Every week, 60 million people come to Starbucks. So he doesn't have any god there. He just is selling coffee. And the one thing that I was curious about is if in Chennai, there are also Starbucks. I recently went to a Starbucks that has just opened in Harrington Road on April 1st. It's near the Lady Andal School. You must visit it. It doesn't look like the Starbucks that we know, but it is there, So I was thinking that, look, I visit Starbucks for maybe once a month. So how is it, it's making $24 billion as we speak. The turnover of the company is $24 billion. The market value of the company is $94 billion. That's how huge the company is. I was thinking, only once a month someone like me visits. I might be spending 200, 300 rupees there. So how did he make so much money? Then I realized, the chai shop that is there in India, around the corner, where we all go as a habit, that's what happens in US. The story in US is completely different. What this man created, the loyalist Starbucks fan visits Starbucks at least 16 times a month. 16 times a month. On an average, 6 times a month. So between 6 to 16 times a month, people visit Starbucks. If someone is visiting it so often, how beautiful the experience must be. How bad our experience is in a chai shop. We only go for the conversation that we have with people. And when a coffee day, a lot of people know the coffee day line, a lot can happen over coffee, was the line, right? And we all loved it. And we really believed it. Actually, Coffee Day was entirely lifted from the idea of Starbucks. Starbucks was the first man, Howard Schultz was the first man to actually recognize that there is potential in, this community experience. Actually, Starbucks was Facebook before Facebook. Facebook has brought together the world. Starbucks brought together the world even before Facebook. So the entire story that I wanted to know is, how did he do this? Especially in 2008, when the recession had hit, things were going wrong. And like Rajesh said, the experience that he had envisioned in mind, that of the Italian baristas that are there, it is full drama that happens over there. It seems the coffee machine is churned, the beans are roasted, and there's aroma of coffee all over the place. And the owner knows every single person sitting in that room, and he speaks to them and gives them a cup of coffee. He asks them about your brother, your sister, your wife, your affair that you had. So this man was marveled looking at this. This was way back in 1980s when he first visited. Starbucks till then was actually a coffee bean company, like our local amalgamated coffee. It sells Leo coffee, coffee powder and coffee beans. That's what they were selling. They were not selling this experience of a coffee shop or a coffee house. So this man imported that experience and wanted to recreate it with the Starbucks name. And typically with entrepreneurs, this is a very difficult call. One of the things that we must realize about Howard Schultz is he's a very bold man. It takes a lot of guts to run a company. To run a company that is struggling and where he's in charge of how many employees you think Starbucks has today? If anyone can take a guess? 394 lakh people he employs. He's responsible for. And do you know that Coffee Day is entirely franchised? Starbucks in US is not at all franchised. Every store is owned by this man or by this company. Now that itself is a very bold decision. In India, we are all entrepreneurs. Our first thing is, eppadi profit pannalam. Our entire thing is, how do I make more money? So we'll always start one store and franchise it. And we'll take a royalty from all the franchisees. And not at all, he'll give his royalty to say that, boss, you advertise for me and you take care of the brand, you get in customers. This guy will take all the money, not advertise. This is what happens in India. This is what happened with Coffee Day. In Starbucks, it's completely different. Each store should be company owned. Each employee, he didn't refer to the employee as employee. The term that he used, partner. That's the level of respect he gave. And he felt that the company needs to own the store. I'm not getting into details of the book. I'm just trying to construct the book synopsis in a manner you understand, so that you appreciate it. Because if I get only into the book, it will be very academic for you. So what he tried to think in his mind is, when this company was struggling, his thought was, how do I recreate this experience? The question that Rajesh asked me was, talk about the book and the transformation agenda. The first thing that any CEO does when he takes over a company that's struggling is to see what all he can cut off. That's the first thing that strikes people. That was the obvious choice. And they always go after profits because this is a listed company. A listed company is answerable to shareholders. And what do shareholders want? They want profit-making company. So this entire book is called Onward How how Starbucks fought for its life without losing its soul. So first thing that he tried to identify is what is the soul of the company. In a country, except for Tata or some professional Infosys or some company, he'll say PVR. Except for some companies like that, they don't have a story. They don't have a soul that holds the company together. It will feel like we are all employees working for a salary. You won't feel that you're part of a larger movement. So when he started this company, he started it with passion. The word he uses in the book, the first chapter's title is love. He says, this company is about love. I love coffee. I want to share the joy of coffee with you because coffee is a wonderful drink. It connects every individual. It's a liberating drink. It stimulates the human. If I can bring people together in a room, make them drink coffee, open up their mind to write a movie script. It actually happens. People use a coffee shop to write a movie script, discuss a startup idea, meet a girlfriend, conduct job interviews. All of this happens inside a coffee shop. And for this, you need to be stimulated. So the core story of Starbucks, he clearly defined as inspire the human spirit. This is an inspire the human spirit, every cup, every individual, every neighborhood. Look at the vision. I need to inspire the human spirit with every cup that I give in every neighborhood. That itself is an extremely large vision. Everyone, if you're in sales and marketing, you'll all know about Coca-Cola saying that I need to have a store at every arm's length. That used to be the Coca-Cola thing. The Starbucks way is every neighborhood. Everywhere he talks about neighborhood. Have you seen Cafe Coffee Day ever talk about its neighborhood? Have you ever seen Cafe Coffee Day give health insurance for its employees? Have you ever seen Cafe Coffee Day talk about creating, a cup that's biodegradable? Have you ever seen Cafe Coffee Day dispose of its plastic straw? This is a company that believes in environment. It's got heart. This is a company that believes in ethics. It also fires people. He had to do the tough job of firing people. He actually set up a transformation agenda. That's the memo that he drafted for, when he took over this company and said that I want to turn this company around. So in his first avatar, he was the builder. In the second avatar, he was the rebuilder. So this entire Onward is about rebuilding of Starbucks. To rebuild, you need to destroy something and not destroy the foundation. So the foundation of Starbucks, he said, there are 7 things that I'm going to do to not just strengthen the foundation, but the entire edifice. The 7 things that he proposed, I will share it with, Rohan, so that he can get into the story. The first thing that he said is, we need to be the authority of coffee. Have you ever heard Cafe Coffee Day say that? Authority of coffee. What does he mean by authority of coffee? The top 3% of Arabica seeds, that's what he bought. Top 3%. You all heard about Arabica and Robusta thanks to the coffee that we buy at home. He never touched Robusta. Only Arabica and top 3%. And he had the best of, blenders and roasters from the world. He built the best machine, espresso machine that can be deployed inside the coffee shop. Now, this is what makes you an authority, right? So, number 1 rule that he said is, people must feel that I am an authority. One of the, I'll just take one small thing that he did as a CEO and then pass on the, the thing to Rohan. Starbucks made 3% of its revenue by selling sandwiches. Sandwiches that have cheese, a lot of cheese in them. You know what, how detailed he gets into thing. He said, when you serve cheese sandwiches, when you make it, it creates a cheese aroma, which overpowers the coffee aroma. He felt that the Starbucks experience, when you walk into a coffee shop, you must feel the aroma, right? Aroma ve illa. Are we a hotel? That's what he said by we are losing the essence of the Starbucks experience. Saying this, I'm going to pass on the, the responsibility of taking the transformation agenda to Rohan.
Thank you, Ananta. That was really, really detailed. I had one part of my ear pasted to what you were saying, so fantastic. And thank you, MMA, and Ananta, Rajesh, and everyone in the team. Opportunity. Starbucks, has captured that little logo, right? It's evolved over the time. What has stayed true is the soul of Starbucks. And companies or people or moments are created either by design or by disaster, right? Starbucks, in a way, the first part was created by design, and the second part, which the book talks about, was by disaster. And when you become too large, it's almost impossible, at least the belief is that it's almost impossible to fail. You can't do anything wrong because you're so big, you've learned the game, you have the right people, you have the logistics, you have the data, the analysts, and you have the money to grow even bigger and to do things, right? But the second part of the journey of Starbucks, which is really well defined, is how from disaster you can still create brilliance. And that's really inspirational. And today the Starbucks that we have seen is still inspirational, still very true to the ethos of the experience. But one thing that for me is very, very impactful, that as a CEO, as an owner, as anyone in any relationship, right, you've got to be sometimes taking those bold and audacious moves to make a difference. When everyone says this is a bad move, if you believe in something, you still got to go with that gut and that importance of the gut, right? Analysis, data is there to only give you the direction. To walk the path, you really need to have that audacious belief that you can make a difference, and out of anything you can still create something. It's like the rise of the phoenix, so to speak. So the company went through and became almost too big to manage, right? And as Ananta rightly said, it lost its soul, right? And Howard believed that revenue and wealth are two different things, right? You can have a lot of revenue, but the wealth is so many things that the intangibles that you can't define. It's the experience sometimes, it's the belief, it's the social responsibility, it's the people, and that's why they call them partners and not employees or team or workers or, employee number 345 or whatever that is. It's the belief that everyone shares that vision. And the entire journey, right, of how those few moves in the beginning, when the company was sort of, there was a time when they looked at the analysis and they looked at that things were growing, but the year-on-year sales was as low as 5%, as low as 1% change in the mix, etc. And that's when they started changing the belief system. Now it takes guts, right? Today when every minute, right? Imagine tomorrow the Chennai metro or even the metro in any part of the world says we're not going to operate any train for the next 5 hours so that we can train every driver in the train to know the traffic rules. Just giving you a random example, right? And to train on how to, approach the station in the best manner possible. And imagine you would be shot down, right? The first thing is someone who's your boss would shoot you down. That's a bad idea. Every minute we earn crores, we earn millions, and it's a bad idea. We'll teach them, by the way, we'll hold a training session. But it takes someone, of course, luckily he was the chairman, so he had the executive authority to take those bold decisions. And he also went, in a way, against the shareholders' beliefs, right? Because he believed in it. And if he believed in it, his job was to make sure that all of the you mentioned 3 lakh employees to believe in that, 3.94 million, employees to believe in that vision. And imagine at one particular day, they closed all the stores. I think 7,000 stores across the world, right? To have a training on how to make the perfect espresso, right? It's an art. When you have passion, right? Then all those little big things that matter in terms of, okay, music is important, the seating is important, the fragrance is important, but your core business, right? Imagine the passion to what you really believe in, right? And if your core business is coffee and you don't get your coffee right, there is nothing else that can mask that inefficiency over anything, right? So they closed all their stores to run a video and a training session on how to get the perfect espresso. So, of course, in Chennai and in different parts, our coffee is a lot of milk, a lot of sugar. Sometimes this finer taste and the nuance of coffee is missing, but it's just a personal preference, right? But to get the foam over an espresso, right? To get the perfect color, the perfect thickness, the viscosity, right? Now, imagine, for you it's just another cup of coffee, for them it's religion, right? For them it is no way that you can get it wrong. And you take this bold, audacious move to close the stores, train the people on how to get the perfect espresso so that the most basic of the soul that drives the company comes back. Another thing that was very inspirational while I was reading snippets of this book at least, was that when the company was, this was the downturn of the entire economy, right? So a classical approach would be, as you rightly said, would be to save money, cut costs, cut people. The first thing that when you're called to transform a company, you think of where is the inefficiency, right? And invariably, you don't find fault with the process, you find fault with the people, right? So somehow the painkiller for any pain is that you change the people and the company will change, right? That's the belief. I think sometimes that bogs successful companies down, that okay, maybe the person is not right, so the first thing that you see is the CEO gets changed, right? Because maybe the CEO is the one that is not taking the right decisions, or you change the head of sales or marketing or product innovation or whatever, because it's somehow believed that the people are the cause of all the issues in a company, but not always, right? So for him, he bought it from the 3-store to where it is today. And he says people are our biggest strength and not our biggest problem, right? So we're not going to be cutting just mindlessly the costs and all of it. Yes, that is important. During that time, when the company was making repeatedly losses over a couple of quarters, he decided to take 10,000 store managers, right, for a conference, right? Now, typical idea of a conference or an offsite of the company is open bar, lots of fun, right? A few discussions, a little bit of strategy. Everyone says, yes, we're going to make it happen. We're going to get this done. And you go back 3 days later, the motivation kind of slips down, right? But when you share a vision, it's really different, right? So this was a time when there was floods and the cyclone and the hurricane in New Orleans, right? This conference happened at New Orleans. And during this time, they started the conference not with a welcome speech by the CEO, but they started by helping and doing a half-day or I think a one-day social service project across New Orleans. The goal was not about media, is about that the spirit to serve. The spirit to serve is not only about a restaurant, a cafe, a company. It's the spirit to serve from a human perspective. And the moment you have, right, the vision then becomes shared. Then it's no longer about serving the next customer or the 100th customer, I'm going to get tired. It's about that my role is to serve people, right, irrespective. And it started off with that belief, and they carried it on at New Orleans, and that bonded people because then there were no lines, there were no targets, no designations, right? It was just the shared belief that we can make a change. Our job is to look after people, irrespective of what their situation is. And it started off with that, and they made some promises to themselves. They had to make a few hard decisions also. But that one conference, which I think costed them something like $30 million, right? At a time, imagine, in this book there is a note that one of the shareholders, right, called him up and said, I don't think so you should be spending that kind of money, right? And this is where true leaders come into the picture. He says, if that's not something that you are interested in, you can probably sell all of your shares and move out, it's fine, right? Now, that is the kind of belief that you don't give up just because a few naysayers, a few non-believers come your way and say, this is not possible, this is a bad idea, right? Sometimes it happens, right? We take 5 opinions of our friends, and if 3 tell us this is not a good idea, we start doubting ourselves, right? And true leaders believe in themselves first and then just ratify or confirm that they are doing the right thing or could have done better by taking opinions, right? They don't form their thought process only on other people's thoughts, beliefs, or opinions, right? So he says that to him, and they do this conference, and the kind of camaraderie, the kind of energy that developed post this conference when they all came back is what sort of catapulted the company to where it is today, right? And I just 2 days back met someone from Starbucks, right? And I was talking to him, and he runs one of the 10 most profitable Starbucks stores in the country, right? And I met him for some different, a different purpose altogether. But I was asking him, what's the secret sauce, right? Like, we don't know the KFC chicken recipe, right? That secret recipe with 14 herbs, etc. Coffee can be made by anyone. Arabica is available freely today. On Amazon, you go and you can order tomorrow morning. You'll have amazing coffee. You can call for a roaster. You can get an espresso machine. You can have this whole setup at home. But what you can't have is the experience, that shared joy, right? And as a company, their first belief. Now, typically when we make visions, right? We make these really humongous visions of being the number one. Imagine every company in the world wants to be number one. It's a bit unrealistic, right? His goal when they came up is to create the 3rd place, right? That's still a belief in Starbucks even today, the 3rd place. That the place you're most comfortable, or you're yourself, or you spend your most time is home. The 2nd place, by virtue of whichever you're doing, is probably work, or in some cases, if it's a student, then it's probably school, college, or whatever, right? The 2nd place where you spend your time, energy, support system is work. The 3rd place, right? How can you be the favorite 3rd place where it's muscle memory, right? Going for a coffee in the US is not a thought. It's muscle memory. I need that cup of coffee. My coffee is waiting for me at Starbucks. I know Joe, who's the barista in Starbucks, and whether my family asks about my well-being or not, right? Whether I have a single friend in the world or not, Joe, in the morning, with my coffee, will remember me, will acknowledge me, will love me irrespective of my flaws or not, right? And still be around when I come back in the evening for my 2nd filler of the coffee. So it became the 3rd place. And the spirit of innovation is there in every single team member of Starbucks. So this coming back to this person I met, I said, how do you make it the 10 most profitable stores? How do you make it to that list, right? He says, we take risks. I said, isn't Starbucks so big that, everything is by the book, SOP driven, no scope for maneuvering your own personal thoughts or your ideas? He says, no, they encourage us to come up with new ideas. In fact, the one thing that they don't like is no new ideas. Right? Now, if that isn't the ethos of the company, it's such a brilliant thing. So this particular gentleman, right, started off during the lockdown, right, started off selling the merchandise. You would have all seen Starbucks t-shirts, Starbucks hot mugs, filters, right, the French press of Starbucks, right? So Starbucks now makes a decent amount of revenues across by selling things which are not their core, right? But people buy, there are French presses galore, not that Starbucks puts a secret thing in this French press for the coffee. They buy the trust, they buy the appeal, they buy the brand Starbucks, right? So he says that all we did was I gave an idea to my district head that why don't we create WhatsApp for business and put the entire Starbucks coffee catalog, beans, etc., into this, and I'm going to send it to all my customers, right? And I'm going to say whether you are in Trichy or you're in Kochi, if you've come to my store once, I will courier it to you. That was the simplest idea, right? And in 1 year, he made almost about 60 lakhs for a store when his stores were closed. Just by doing this. And he says, today my idea is taken and is across India, it's been given to the store managers. And I was gifted, a sum of 1 lakh because my idea made a difference to the company. Now, a store manager, one of thousands of stores, has the courage to come up with an idea and say, I have something good, I don't want it to stay only to my store, I want to make it really big. And then going to your manager, your boss, and them saying, hey, it's not that the best ideas only come top, bottom, they could come bottom up, they could come sideways. As long as it's a good idea, it's going to be tried. And I think that's really the big difference. So the learning, if you get a chance, please do read a book. Rajesh was kind enough to send me 2 articles that I in fact sent to my CEO as well. I said, to inspire you today morning, there's something that I wanted to send to you, and it's wonderful. It'll, more than the coffee, right, whatever business you are in, it'll just be a nice lesson in humility. How, even if you're big, you're likely to fail if you don't innovate. And the last thing is social media, right? Starbucks was a company built on a lot of ethos, like you rightly said, it was the Facebook of the world even before Facebook was invented, right? But they thought that because we're the largest company, we cannot really fail, and hence we don't really need to look at social media. Customers will come in. If I have a store in every neighborhood, how is it possible that no customer will come, or how is it that anyone will miss us, right? The moment they stop looking after customer comments online, right, they started getting totally rogered all across social media, right? And today, they are one of the most popular accounts on Facebook with the highest engagement. How they took that defeat even online, they were badgered, right? Whether it was analysts in the stock market or it was social media influencers who gave bad reviews online, right? How that journey of success, of how to take that negativity and turn it into an opportunity, it's a great opportunity. Maybe if you get a chance, do read that book. I have been impacted. I've still a lot more chapters to go, but after going back, I'm going to complete it. Thank you.
Yeah, thanks, Rogan. Thanks, Ananta. If Howard Schultz were to listen this video, I think he will immediately appoint Ananta as a spokesperson, right? Lot of data he has, lot of energy he has, lot of love he has for that brand. I think he has fallen in love with the brand as a brand consultant. Yes. At first, what I thought is, when this gentleman, Howard Schultz, took over the CEO position from Jim Donald in 2008, I thought, why don't he guide him and ask him to do something? Next, eventually what happened is he took over. Then after 4 or 5 years, he again gave this position to another external CEO. I thought that could be something wrong with this gentleman. But eventually, then as I read this whole story, I thought Starbucks was his baby. So he has given this baby to a stepmother. So that stepmother is seeing this baby in a totally different light. He's not seeing like a mother. So he eventually came back and took his child and taught his values to him. And then once the child has realized, he gave back the child to another stepmother. That is what I felt when I read this whole story.
Just to add a little trivia, Howard Schultz is back as a CEO a third time, and he couldn't see it suffering. He's come back as interim CEO.
So he's more emotional about Starbucks. That's what even I understood. Most of the decisions which you took, Ananta and Rohan has shared, if an external CEO, if an external CEO had to handle that situation, he even told that in the book, he wouldn't have done that. For example, closing all the stores for one full day, taking all his employees out, and then, according to data in Starbucks, that burgers were really doing really well. Customers were enjoying those burgers. Technically and economically, you shouldn't have stopped selling burgers. But he know what his baby wants. So eventually, he disregarded everyone's idea, opinion, numbers, data, everything, and stopped burgers, because the cheese, as Ananta said, the cheese in the burger is affecting the aroma of the coffee. So his value system is very, very simple. He kept, even his name, CEO, everything is not in caps. They ensured that CEO in small letters, because he wants to treat everyone in the same way, not just by words. Because today, if you notice, brand purpose is the term brand purpose is a very fancy term. Every one of us wants to use, I'm running a purposeful brand. But it takes courage, it takes guts to see those purpose in each and every activity, each and every brick, each and every decision the company makes. It's very, very difficult. That is what I understood when I read this book. So my next question to Ananta is, he says, Starbucks is a human company, it's a human brand. Its equity is primarily driven by, number one, employee experience, we call partners, then customers, then shareholders. So he believed not in conventional marketing. He was a marketer, he's a great marketer, but his approach was totally different. So conventionally we think marketing is all about advertising, is all about promotion. This gentleman has approached marketing in a totally different way. And what do you think about that, Ananta?
I think it's a great question. I come from the advertising world. I have run successful ad agency. I've just started a new ad agency. And anyone who says advertising is not required for brands, I'll say, hey, please don't say this here.
That's why I asked this question to you.
But, there are brands. In India, there's a brand called Infosys. Have you ever seen an Infosys ad except for recruitment ad? You would never have seen it. But what a brand it is. Starbucks is same. It never did advertising. Because as Howard Schultz clearly says, this Starbucks is about the experience. The experience is the ad. You don't need any more ad. In fact, the only ad that he talks about in his book that he did was an ad that encourages people to vote. And if you vote, you get a free Starbucks. And look at that idea. There he's not selling Starbucks. He's selling the idea of making people vote. That is the only time he actually endorsed an advertising idea. Otherwise, Starbucks was never known for advertising. So, every marketer, puts the customer as the number one. What Starbucks CEO, Howard Schultz did? He put the employee as number one. Unless the employee delivers a great experience, that's why he calls them partners. Unless the employee delivers a great experience, the customer can never feel it, right? You need to feel it. The wonderful example that he gave, the store manager who comes up with an idea of WhatsApp for business, I think, salute to them. In fact, when I went to a Starbucks once, there was this lady, little, probably 21-year-old, 22-year-old, we can call her barista, because she made the coffee. And then I asked her, typically in Chennai, we don't know anything to order in Starbucks. What do you order in Starbucks? Give me cappuccino. That's the only term I know, Or we'll be shameless and ask, filter coffee kadekuma. So I was in such a similar state, and I wanted to ask that lady, cappuccino, but then I felt sheepish because I was with some friends. So I said, okay, you tell me what to. That's our standard strategy. This lady said, I'd recommend some names, he said. I said, what's special about that? I've invented it. I've invented it. You know, Starbucks allows employees to invent their own blend of coffee. And she proudly says it. You know, when you have that pride, where that sales store manager tells them, I did this, and the entire company, teleported it, transported it across the brand. And when this young lady comes to me and she says, I created this coffee. In fact, the word she uses, I invented this coffee. With what pride? You know, to generate that pride, you need something. You know that. So this is the marketing, that word of mouth marketing. This is called word of mouth marketing, where you create the experience in such a way that you go back home and tell 10 others, this is what I had at Starbucks. You know, always, you know, Starbucks is known for that. Your name is written on the cup and they call it out. You know, and that itself is, they're treating the customer as a human being, not as one more number. And even when this guy fired people, in fact, Howard Schultz writes in his book that I made it a point, you know, to mention the name of the guy whom I fired. I told him, don't take it personally. I know you will take it personally, but don't take it personally because, you know, I have to do it because the business demands. Maybe tomorrow I can get you back. You know, and to just give you one more piece of data, Starbucks spends more on healthcare for its employees than the amount that it spends on buying coffee beans. Can you believe it? Coffee is their core product. They spend more on an employee's health insurance than, in this book he mentions the level to which employees go in that. He talks about, you know, Joe as a reference name, you know, for you go to that barista, Joe. There's this lady he mentions, she actually donated a kidney to someone who regularly drinks coffee there. That's the extent to which Starbucks employees go. If, you know, we all run companies. When you run companies, you always think, can I inspire this employee to be their very best? Not many people are able to do that. This man was able to do it. And because he says 3 things are required for running a company. Intent. Unless that intent is there, that we need to excel to inspire humans. First. Second thing he says is process. Unless you put in place the process, you know, you can't translate this intent to, what is the third thing that he says? Intent, process, and I think you should read the book for that secret, you know, it slips my mind, you know. But wonderful pieces of advice. And to answer his specific question, a brand can be built only by its employees, and he's demonstrated it. It doesn't need any ad campaign. So I hope that answers your question. It's a wonderful marketing.
Yeah. Thank you so much, Ananta. So I would reiterate, Ananta, the investment which he had made in his employees, those healthcare programs, the investment which he had made in improving the product quality, 3% of coffee only to buy premium coffee, the investment which he made in local communities, I think he has taken all this from his marketing budget and spent it. So these things come back to the company in so many ways, right? So, for example, which employee would go to an extent to donate the kidney to a customer? If he had to spend all those money in the marketing budget, his employee would have behaved in a different way. So that is another way of looking at branding, I would say. So to Rohan, most of the companies, even startups, if we see, when they were small, every founder's dream would be very similar to Howard Schultz's dream. They wanted to be nimble, they wanted to be employee friendly, they wanted to be customer friendly, they don't want to fall prey into the market pressures, but eventually, as we have seen a lot of instances, right? Eventually, as they grow, everything sets in, the complexity sets in, most importantly, the hubris sets in, I'm doing something big. We forget the core values, why we created this company. So how do you think entrepreneurs, as they grow big, how they can keep the company small, maybe more relevant? What do you think about that?
That's a very, very relevant question. So, you know, the bigger you go, sometimes it's difficult to be local and be individualistic still. But I think the way entrepreneurs can really do it is pick up things that they are passionate about. And this is only my personal opinion, right? You have multiple, to make a company successful, you have multiple moving parts. When you have or want absolute control over every moving part, you end up being good at only a few or missing out so many other opportunities, right? So the larger you grow, I think, especially for entrepreneurs who are actively participating in a company, is to pick up things that they are passionate about and continue to focus on them, so that that soul that created that idea, that created what is genesis of that company, that they don't lose, you know. So if someone loves marketing and they keep that marketing element giving the operation to someone else, right, the company can still flourish and still remain small, nimble, yet keep on growing. Or someone is great with finance or something else. You know, today, especially in India, there are a lot of joint family or business families, right? I am is running courses today, you know, where they're talking about how joint families and how business families can sort of grow their business without having any sort of acrimonious, you know, elements within the family of, you know, disagreements and all of that. And I think one of that is to pick what you're really passionate about, because you will almost pick the thing on which you base the company's early days in, and you continue to focus on that and let other people get a larger say in things that, you know, you are not a master with, or that you just don't have the time and the mental energy or the space to give to. So that's just thought that I want to share.
Thank you, Rohan. Maybe can we start the question? We'll get some questions from the audience.
Thank you very much. I see it in two parts. One is about the book Starbucks, and the other is, you know, why we are here is to develop the book reading habits. Now, every time I am listening to, we are glorifying something when it has become a successful. You know, we started saying that, you know, people just start business because they want to make money in the Indian soil, but they don't have a purpose for it. No, that's not true. Every entrepreneur starts with a great purpose. He has got a big passion in it. There are people who have given a lot of fortunes to, you know, follow their passion. But something went right for successful people. For some people, it doesn't go right. So sometimes we have, you know, many times we have this kind of habit. Something went right for Starbucks, and it has met success, and we are glorifying it. Now, I really wonder, such great values, can it be distributed across so many million? Definitely Starbucks has made a mistake of growing big, and somewhere it has to lose its value. That's a natural death. It's impossible. You can make products which are similar across the globe, but you cannot distribute values. However much you may try to train people at the last part. Okay? In fact, you walk into McDowell and you listen to read the book on In Search of Excellence, and the story that you talk about in Search of Excellence and what you see here in McDowell is not one and the same. Okay, so I think, you know, like, if you have to make people get the habit of reading books, whenever something goes successful, I think I'm coming back. We have a patience. Whenever we are reading some success story, I think the book reading mind should be what could have gone wrong, so that you go beyond that. And whenever you are reading something, a failure story, in spite of the failure, what could have gone right there? And I think that critical mind only can make the book reading, that's our purpose of the evening today, is more satisfying. And I don't think glorifying Starbucks is not our agenda today. Our agenda is to make book reading habit among people. Thank you.
Thank you for your feedback.
No, I would just like to address that. You know, unless we make, suppose it's a brand book that we are discussing, unless we inject the passion about the brand, and what we try to do here is not to glorify Starbucks. It's to say, you know, what he did right. That's why I gave you the context of what didn't go right with CCD, which is Cafe Coffee Day, and what Starbucks did right. Book reading is about learning. So we were trying to distribute the knowledge that we learned. And to answer your specific question, this book you must read because he talks about his failures too. He talks about a product that he wanted to launch called Sorbetto. That was a massive failure. And so you don't have CEOs talking about their failures. He talks about it. So please read about why it failed. I don't want to lecture you on why it failed. It's best to read, best to learn from it. And at the same time, he talks about another thing which is extremely, courageous to do. A coffee shop will never launch an instant coffee. This guy launched it. And he created 100 million brand out of it. A great story to learn from. He talks about his failure, he talks about his success. So here we are not trying to glorify Starbucks. And a wonderful point made by the gentleman saying that it is extremely tough to import the Starbucks value everywhere. It's humanly impossible. But you can try. This gentleman tried. I would say that if anyone who's run a company will be able to tell you that you can never get the same 100%. For example, in advertising, there's an agency called Ogilvy. Ogilvy Bangalore is wonderful. Ogilvy Mumbai is wonderful. Ogilvy Chennai is not. What you can try is to, if one place is at 100, the other place can it be 80? The third place can it be 70? I would say Starbucks Chennai's value will be at 40. But people are trying. It's 40 because it's franchised. When it's original, the value stays. So that's a wonderful point we can take from the book. What is, do you franchise or not? So there are so many learnings from the book. So my idea is not to glorify Starbucks. His idea is not to glorify Starbucks. Since the book was about the man, and the man says work is personal. Building a brand is personal. He says he built it like his baby. That is the truth. For him, everything was personal. So I am putting myself in the shoe of the author and trying to tell you that it is personal. Unless you love it, you'll never be able to do it. The reason why we are, when we are all employees, we are not able to muster that passion because that passion is not injected into us. That value needs to be injected into us. It is not possible to do 100% value transfer. I agree with you, sir. But 60%, 70%, the effort is on, which is why he called the book Onward. He called the book Onward because it's a relentless journey. You can never stop. He says in the book that the worst thing that you can do is to be complacent. The worst thing that you can do is to say that, hey, I won. That's it. One party I can organize. Yeah, sorry.
Just wanted to add on. I don't have the habit of reading books, but I'm sure that somebody who's got divorced and who wouldn't like to get married again, after listening to the way you put across the story of Starbucks, definitely somebody would fall in love with the brand and would get inspired in reading this book first. So it's a lot of motivation that you're driving to say the positives of the story of Starbucks and just touch upon a little bit of negatives here and there to make sure that people, today I've got interested in reading this book, though I don't have the habit of reading the book. So great, thanks.
Since that gentleman felt I didn't point out the negatives of Starbucks and I'm glorifying Starbucks. Although the company says partners, if you read up about Starbucks lately, the biggest problem that they're currently facing is trade union problem. Trade unions have started entering Starbucks and Howard Schultz is the chairman. He calls employees as partners and he doesn't like unions. So that is a contradiction. So I hope I pointed one negative of Starbucks.
I just want to just add, so, personally, I aim to read a lot of books, but end up maybe at only 5% or 10% of my aim. And I find the audio a little better. So if you ever get a chance, there is an app called Blinkist, right, that sort of condenses Blinkist. It's called Blinkist. It'll give you one book a day, 10 minutes only. And you can just, it's like a capsule. It's like a beautiful executive summary of a book. And you can just listen to it. And, it's the easiest way to get new information across. And then once it's sort of piqued your interest a little bit, you can probably then go to the next step. But that Blinkist sends you one random book a day. And it's a great way to sort of get into the habit if you're not. And it's easy to listen to. Yeah. 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 It's interesting, yeah.
My question or observation is on regarding the labeling part of it. The employees are called as partners. Agreed that it's a very good approach. But merely by labeling them or calling them as partners, is it enough? I think it has got to be more than that. No, treating them as partners. It's not just we see in many places people take just that concept of putting the labels here and there, but the real core effect of that particular terminology is not really getting transmitted. So that is one observation I felt that needs to be dwelt upon. Probably the book talks about it also. Another thing that I felt was when you started off, 2006, when Mr. Rajesh was mentioning about that 2006 he came, 2006 or 7 he came back after giving up as a CEO. I felt it was similar to what Mr. Narayanamurthy did for Infosys. Is it the same kind of a person who has founded the organization, and when he felt that things were not going the way it was supposed to go, or as he perceived it to go, he came back and he brought in his own set of value systems and other things to bring it back. I think it's again picked up the way it has. Do you see any correlation on that?
Yes, absolutely. When every company is a labor of love, every idea, every vision is a labor of love, and when you see it going astray, something ticks inside you. It's a very, very apt observation. Yes, it's similar to the way Infosys sort of lost its way. And that time it was not only about profit, it was what the company was going after, what the company was doing. It had record employee turnover at that time, and typically Infosys employees stayed for average of 5-8 years plus, and they call it infant attrition, the speed at which people leave in the first 2 years or 3 years, and the infant attrition was that. So I think to get a company that slightly had gone astray to say, I'm there and I knew what was great with that company, let me get it back. So very, very similar example. Absolutely, absolutely. You mentioned. You mentioned partners. So, at least my knowledge about not only Starbucks but most companies, that you could label it whatever, but the processes and the culture of the company distills into the people. So, as one example, dental insurance is the most expensive in the US, most expensive. You probably only, if you're the CEO, probably you get dental insurance. Now imagine they spend 300 million US, right, as the cost of insurance, and every single one is covered, and insurance is the most expensive in the US. So if that major need of yours, that Maslow's hierarchy of needs, and that need of being wanted, loved, cared for is fulfilled, you would do anything for a company. And it works not only in Starbucks, in any other company. When you feel valued, you feel cared for and heard, half the battle is won.
So we will take one, you have a question, sir? Let's take then, you have the mic. Please go ahead, ma'am. Yeah, please.
Sir, I have two small questions. The first one, there are certain products or brands that will sell by itself. Do Starbucks fall under that category? This is the reason for the success. And the second question is, like you said, about 60 million people visit Starbucks a week. Apart from selling coffees, what attracts people towards Starbucks? Because in my opinion, as a customer, I enter a restaurant, either it is a coffee day or Starbucks, whatever it may be, to spend a quality time. Some half an hour, 1 hour I want to spend in a place with a good, good interiors, and what lies in front of my table is somewhat secondary. Either I take coffee or tea or snacks, that's different. I want to spend some quality time in a good ambitious place where I get good interiors. That's what as a normal customer I feel. So apart from selling coffee, what attracts a lot of people towards Starbucks? My first question. Certain brands will sell by itself. Certain brands will sell by itself. Do Starbucks fall under that category? Is it the reason for the success? Either they give ad or not, that brand image will always make people to buy that product.
Yes. Such products are the first of its kind. First of its kind products always sell by itself. When you're the only search engine that is a dominant search engine, it sells by itself. When you're the first guy to distribute email, it sells by itself. When you become the default coffee name for coffee houses, it sells by itself. So you're correct. Starbucks is a name like itself. It has almost become synonymous with coffee houses. So it sells by itself. It doesn't need any branding. And more importantly, the reason why it sells by itself is so much has gone in to make it sell by itself. Now you asked, apart from coffee, what do they sell? They sell, yes, they sell the experience. The experience of, if you get into a coffee, today, there used to be a store in Chennai called Landmark. Okay? If you go into Landmark, if you visited Higginbotham's, 5 minutes நீங்க இருந்தாலே he'll say book choose பண்ணுங்கப்பா அப்படின்ட்டு. Landmarkல you can spend the entire day. They'll allow you to be there. Coffee, Starbucks Coffee House was one of the earliest to do this, in such a plush ambience. It was an upmarket brand. You said, no, you like to spend quality time in a quality place. That quality time is what Starbucks gives you. They give you a free Wi-Fi connection. You can sit there. Nobody disturbs you. You can, if you have the Starbucks app, you get special access to Amazon Prime. படமே பார்த்துடலாங்க. இந்த மாதிரியெல்லாம், and he's giving you so many loyalty card he gives. Which coffee shop gives you a loyalty card? The more cups you drink, the more cups you can drink. No, who gives you that? When so much is done for the customer, why won't you return? So actually the chairman, Howard Schultz, says it's coffee plus connect. They sell coffee plus connect. You can connect with anyone because they give you time, space.
Thank you. So last question.
Yeah. You gave the figures for the revenue for the worldwide. Do you have the figures just for the Indian part of it?
Indian data is not available, but there are about 157 stores. So I think it should be around 1,000, 2,000 crores, that's all. I'm not sure of this data, but this is just my guesstimate. It won't be anything in the higher rungs. Typically, yeah. So what percentage would that be? Very, very low. India is 0.000% of their revenue. We don't exist on their map as of now. China is very big for them.
What is the reason?
China,
What's the reason for the 0.00?
because our rupee value is so low compared to dollar. We are 79 rupees a dollar, no? So their revenues is calculated in, even if we earn whatever we earn, 1,700 crores is huge for us. But for US, when you translate it to dollars, it's so low. So till the day one rupee equals $1, we will not make a difference to them. But we will make a difference in terms of number of people drinking coffee. We are a nation of numbers. As Narasimha Rao once said, India is a nation of crowds. So we have 1.6 billion people to give Starbucks as customers.
Anything else, Rajesh?
Yeah, please go ahead.
In your option, how successful Starbucks will be in Chennai?
How successful will Starbucks
How
be?
successful Starbucks will be in Chennai?
Yeah.
See, the brand is a premium brand. They have Starbucks store in Chennai and it is successful. See, in every market, you will have certain customers who appreciate premiumness and experience, and I believe Starbucks cannot play a volume game here in India. That market is very niche. The people who appreciate premium and quality and experience, it is a very niche market, but it's a growing market in India. If you ask me to draw some parallels, premium car brands, yes, India is a lucrative market, not in terms of volumes, but in terms of value. Yes, they make only small numbers, but huge value. So definitely Starbucks, this growing luxury and premium category in India, for example, if you take Titan, jewelry, premium jewelry, they are adding layers in jewelry category, premium. It works. Even, I'll club your question with that ma'am's question also. See, now what happens is, this is a broad trend, I'll finish off this very quickly. Now, whatever is happening in an offline world is commoditized. I can order food in Swiggy, I can order food in Zomato, I can watch movies in Netflix. Everything is commoditized. Unless and until a brand provides superior experience, we don't go to the offline world. Take any of your last 10 visits to restaurant. Why you went? I went along with my wife for my son's birthday. During my wedding anniversary, I went. Another time I went to have a chat with my friend. Take almost 10 visits to theaters. Take example, I was discussing this with Rohan. My son was a movie buff. He don't watch movies in Netflix. He watches just 1 or 2 times. But literally, offline world, if you want to sustain your business in the offline world, it's all about experience. Either you run a coffee shop or a theater or whatever business it could be. Hope I have answered both of your questions.
Rohan, you want to add something?
See, it's a matter of habit, right? In other parts of the world, coffee is a habit, and you have your morning cup of coffee the moment you get up, right? Which in Chennai is also part of habit. But your along the way to work coffee is probably a Starbucks. Whereas here, we like our coffee slightly differently. We like it with the 20%, 30% chicory. We like the milk, the sugar. It's a matter of preference. So it will coexist. You will not have Starbucks or cafe coffee day or any other coffee because you only like filter coffee. But if the instances, as Ananta mentioned some time back, that if 16 times in a month you go to a Starbucks, maybe in India and in Chennai in specific, it would probably be 3 times or 4 times. So the gross volume of the transactions will be lesser, but it will still be, because it's a place, it's a neutral place which every Ola driver knows that Starbucks is an address. Free Wi-Fi. Startups were founded and made in Starbucks. You know, there is this belief in the startup ecosystem. In Bombay, there is a Starbucks in Powai, okay? And like in Chennai, there are some places that if you have a meeting of the 2 families there, the wedding is confirmed. Same way, in Bombay, right, in Powai, if you meet at the Starbucks, somehow some people believe it's like good juju and the startup is going to succeed. So it's one of those things that if it's a 16 times a month habit, it's a twice or thrice a month habit here, but it will still coexist.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Rohan. I think thanks Rajesh, thanks Ananta. All the 3 panelists deserve a very big round of applause. I mean, they presented the entire book for us in about an hour's time, and I think like the other gentleman mentioned there, now I think it's almost, we all getting curious to go and read the book and see what is more in it. So with these words, I think I once again thank Rajesh. We have about 340 viewers watching us online. There have been some questions also, sorry. because of the paucity of time. We have given preference to those who have taken the trouble of coming here. Had there been 15 minutes more, I would have taken those questions. So thank you once again for joining and come. So it's time for us to honor the distinguished speakers of the day, especially Rajesh. He will take a break, and during his absence, we have Ram Prasad here. Ram Prasad Meriko. So Ram Prasad will be taking over the mantle, and we'll see him soon on this stage next time. So may I have request you all to come forward and take the. We only, because you guys are so good in reading books, we only give you books, more books to read. Thank you, ladies and gentlemen. Wishing you all a great weekend coming ahead. And tomorrow we have the data protection bill. Whoever is joining us, please do join us. Get back home safe. Have a lovely dinner and good night.